put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning and welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Tuesday, the first day of July 2025, and we're coming to you live from the Port Mall here in Scarborough, Tobago. I am Adana Kumbi, and this is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning, and my name is Akinlabi Holder, and yes, Adana, it is the second half of 2025. We have begun the second half of 2025, and I know that you are excited. I know I am excited for what the second half of this year will bring for us, and I know that our viewers also, they're ready to go to tackle this second half of 2025.
That's right, and we must tell them welcome to July, welcome to July, welcome to July. And you know, Akinlabi, I bought a brand new notepad for July. I like to write things down because there's so many things circulating in my head and I might forget something. So I have a brand new notepad for the second half of the year. I don't know if it will last the entire second half, but I have it there ready to go, and I already have some things to scribe in there. So as soon as I get upset, I will start writing in my notepad. And I do hope that you and all of our viewers, you know, they put themselves in a gear to ensure that, you know, we can do the assessment we spoke about and to plan ahead for the second half of the year. We don't have to wait until the new year to make a resolution or to decide, well, I want to do this or I want to do that. But we can plan ahead, make an assessment to see our progress as we move forward.
You know, as you said, you bought a new notepad. It just reminds me that, like, for us adults, the small joys, the small things that bring us so much joy, you know, and just having a new notepad, it feels like something,
it feels
you know?
like success.
Yes.
It feels like I achieved something, you know, and I really identify, and I'm happy that you picked up on that, you know, that it really is, it makes you feel like you're adulting, you know, responsibly. You know, so we continue to give God thanks for life, and we do hope that you too can make an assessment of where you are and continue to forge ahead with whatever plans that you have for your life. We have a wonderful show lined up for you this morning, and we do hope that you could stay with us. But before we get into all of those conversations, we head on over to the news in 90 seconds.
Good morning, I am Lavian Cupid, and here's what's making your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 1st July 2025. A robbery at the premises of E-Day supermarket located opposite the Scarborough Port is currently engaging the attention of Tobago Police. Preliminary reports indicate that the incident occurred at approximately 1 a.m. on Monday, June 30th. The TTPS was alerted and reportedly arrived on the scene soon after. The supermarket, which is operated by Chinese nationals, was observed closed for business yesterday, and members of the police service was seen actively processing the crime scene. Sources within the TTPS has confirmed that the victims are all non-nationals with limited English-speaking abilities. They are currently assisting police with the investigation. In recent times, the supermarket has garnered public scrutiny as an alleged hotspot for illegal activities. In January of 2024, 4 people were injured in a drive-by shooting at the front of the supermarket. This is a developing story. More details will be made available in a subsequent newscast. The 30th edition of the anticipated Tobago Heritage Festival kicks off today, July 1st, with a Thanksgiving service to be held at the St. Patrick Anglican Church in Mount Pleasant at 10 a.m. The service, which is dedicated to expressing gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon the island and its people, will commemorate the beginning of a month-long calendar of events under the theme Time Longer Than Twine. The festival boasts of over 25 events, with the return of fan favorites such as the Salaka Feast, Lescato Folk Tales, and a new runner for headliner, Roxborough's Bell Manor Riot. The calendar of events culminates on Emancipation Day with a parade and reenactment. And finally, 17,870 boys and girls across the nation will have access to their secondary entrance assessment SEA results on Thursday, 3rd July 2025, as announced by the Ministry of Education. In an official media release yesterday, the ministry confirmed that the students will be able to access their individual results from the SEA online portal from 11 p.m. Children desirous of accessing their results will need their date of birth, a student number, and admissions number. Congratulations to all. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Lavian, for our news there in 90 seconds. And of course, I want to start off with your last news story. Our students, I know that they are excited, and their parents as well, waiting for the SEA results. And all I can think about is I did not do SEA. I don't know about you guys, but I did common entrance. Am I selling out my age here on set this morning?
I did common entrance as well. You're not alone.
I
did it last year though.
Right. I see you, Lavian. And you know, I feel as if sometimes we put our children under a lot of stress and pressure to do these exams, but I'm happy that you know, on Thursday, I think it is, they'll be able to get their results. And I want to encourage our young children who are preparing for secondary school. It doesn't matter where you have been placed, you can shine. You have a personality, you have a gift, you have a talent, you have a skill, and you can achieve great things. And you know, I don't want any child to feel, you know, I wanted to go to a specific school and my friends are going there and I'm the only one who is going there. Sometimes we kind of put that kind of pressure on our children. So mummies and daddies, guardians, parents, aunties, uncles, allow them.
And I think
you know, I just want to say that this morning.
Yeah, I think this is also a time for parents and guardians to prepare children to move from primary school to secondary school, because I don't know if we remember, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but I don't remember, it is such a drastic change in environment, and high school is that place that would make or break you as an adult, because I see a lot of grown adults, I'm talking about persons in their 30s and 40s, that are still reeling from the effects of bullying or things that would have been said to them in high school that would have broken their self-esteem or broken who they are as an individual. And so we need to prepare them. It's not all fun and games as it is in primary school. It is a lot harsher environment. And so we need to prepare them emotionally for what they are going into.
Yes, and Adana, as you spoke about the parents putting the children under pressure, sometimes we as adults, we have to kind of reflect on ourselves and realize that sometimes we're trying to live through our children. Sometimes things that we didn't achieve as a child, we want our children to achieve it for us. So we really need to really take a reflection, some introspection, and realize that the child, they are their own person, and so we should really ease up on the kind of pressures that we put on them sometimes.
That's right, that's right. And allow them to still be children. And I love you, and I want to piggyback on what you said in terms of the transition from primary school to secondary school. And sometimes children can really be mean, and you have to look at the background that they come from as well. And you have to kind of, as a parent, your responsibility is to ensure that your child is prepared. And there are also support systems that are put in place. There are so many summer camps that I know that lend towards building your confidence, preparing you for a new environment. You know, you could speak words of affirmation to your children and all these types of things that will help them for that place. So try to exhaust all the resources that are available to ensure that your child is in a good place, that you are in a good place, and you're comfortable to send your babies off to big school. Because I know also, not just for the children, but for the parents as well, it is also a transition. Because I know when my time comes, you all need to send me to some kind of camp to help me to calm my nerves when it's that time. But all is well that ends well, and we will do our best for our children, not just as parents, but as communities. We will come together for our children to ensure that they have the support they need.
Indeed. And at Kinlabi, are you ready to heal and sew in Mariah?
Anytime. I'm always ready. I'm always ready for Heritage Festival. So heal and toe in Mariah, pulsing in Black Rock, whatever it is.
I want to go to Roxborough. That's where I want to go. I want to go to Roxborough. I knew I was going to get this response from you, Lavi, and I knew it. I knew it. But you know, yeah, I'm feeling it this year. Last year we were hoping to go and we didn't get the opportunity, but I'm hoping that this year, I don't know if the production team is listening to me. I don't know. Maybe.
Good morning, Mr. Collins Hazel.
That's
but
right.
listen to me. We know that every single village puts on a spectacular performance.
That's right.
Yeah, but we also have the fan favorites that persons look forward to: Lescotto, Mariah, Charlottesville, and I have to say, my little fishing village in Roxborough. Are we come true? Belmana Riot, a street parade, street theater production. Listen to me, epic. You must see it as a black person, as a Tobagonian. It's actually in the colonial era. It is something that you must see. This Tobago, I think, had, was it four revolutionary riots and fights against the colonial system, in comparison to Trinidad that had none, you know, our big brothers that had none. And so Tobago, we have always had such a fighting spirit. Tell them we're not afraid about Belmana. Roxborough, outside this heritage.
That's right. So, you know, Heritage is launching today for all our viewers. So, you know, be a part of something. Pick something and go. Even if you can't attend all, pick something. It's part of our culture, part of our heritage, and it tells our story, who we are as people from right here in Tobago. All right, Lavian, thank you so much for joining us on set this morning and bringing the news in 90 seconds. So have a wonderful day and we'll see you again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the morning where we celebrate with those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout-outs. And of course, you know, we here at Tobago Updates Television, we love a good celebration. And so we want to start off by saying happy birthday this morning to Natasha Spencer. Natasha Spencer is celebrating a birthday today, and we say happy birthday to her. And we do want to say happy birthday to her. We pray God's blessings upon your life, and we hope that you have a wonderful day today.
We keep the celebrations rolling and we say happy birthday to Mr. David Dillon. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Dillon. God's richest blessing in your life. This is your special day today. We pray that you're safe. We pray that you stay blessed and you stay surrounded with loved ones. Happy birthday to you, sir.
Cassell Campbell is also celebrating a birthday today. We say happy birthday to Cassell and we pray God's blessings upon your life. Have a wonderful, amazing birthday. Continue to shine. Continue to be the best version of yourself. And may God continue to bless you richly. Happy birthday to you.
And we round it up with Wendell Rowley. Happy birthday to you, Mr. Wendell Rowley. Yes, God's richest blessings to you on this special day. And we wish you lots of cheer on your special day. Happy birthday to you, Wendell Rowley.
And you know, of course, even if we don't have your photographs this morning, we want to say happy birthday to you, or we join in the celebration. Whatever you are celebrating, we join in with you and we remind you to put God first, because he is the sole reason why there's even anything for you to celebrate. And this morning I want to say a special shout out to Biana Brebner. I know you're used to seeing her reading our news in 90 seconds, but she's off for some time, and I want to say a special good morning to you, Biana. We are thinking about you. We love you. We miss you, and we can't wait to see you again. But we do want you to, you know, to get the rest that you so deserve and you need right now at this point in time. So yes, of course, the studio is different without you here this morning, but we do understand that you have to be away for this point in time, and so we say get all the rest that you need. Who are we having conversations with this morning in studio?
I am so glad that you asked, Adana. This morning we're having conversations with Mr. Barry Lovelace, and he is the Marine Park Manager in the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries in the Tobago House of Assembly, and he's coming to talk to us about the coral reef crisis in Tobago. And also we're going to have, doing an interview with us, Mr. Valmiki Maharaj, who is the band lead and creative director of Lost Tribe, and he's going to talk about the Lost Tribe band launch for 2026 Carnival.
All right, very interesting conversations there to be had this morning, and of course we do hope that you can be a part of the conversation. We want you to leave your comments on our Facebook live stream and our YouTube channel at Tobago Updates. Of course, you have to be a part of what is going on. Remember, we have conversations that you want to be a part of. We want to hear from you. We want your opinion. Ask your questions. Let us know what is burning on the inside of you so that we can have the discussions celebrations right here on the morning show on Tobago Updates Television. So whether you're right here in Tobago, you are in Trinidad, you are in the Caribbean region, you are in the United States, you are in Canada, Asia, Africa, Australia, wherever you are, we want you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Are you ready to celebrate the essence of Crusoe land and the culture of Tobago? Well, get ready for Tobago Day in New York City, hosted by the Tobago Empowerment and Alliance Mission. Sunday, August 17, 2025, Nazareth High School Courtyard, 475 East 57th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 12 noon to 8 p.m. We bring the Tobago vibes to the Big Apple. Live music, Tobago food, cultural performances, and family fun. So bring Tanty, Granny, the uncle, invite the whole neighborhood. Just bring everybody and bring your significant other too. Come celebrate Tobago Day in New York City, Sunday, August 17th, Nazareth High School Courtyard. But I forget to tell all you, it's we 10th anniversary celebration. For more information, call 929-327-7857 or check Team's Facebook and Instagram pages, Team Tobago Day.
Do you think you know Premier League or Champions League football? What about international cricket or the IPL and CPL? How about NBA basketball? Well, now you can put your skills to work to earn some extra cash by betting on the games with TT Bet Arena. Simply go to our website, choose a sport you want to bet on, find the games, and place your bets. And with your computer or mobile device, you can bet from anywhere. Just go to ttbetarena.com, sign up for a free account, make a deposit, and start betting. It's that simple. You can even qualify for our $2,000 sign-up bonus. We also have horse racing, plus live casino games where you can bet using TT dollars. And check our new Tobago location at 7B Milford Road, Crown Point. For more info, call or WhatsApp 494-0634. TT Bet Arena, the #1 sports betting company in Trinidad and Tobago.
With Flow Business's new smart solutions, powered by super fast, reliable broadband, you'll feel like there are more versions of you working for you. From website design, development, and digital marketing to promote your business, 24/7 business class support to cloud solutions, security, and more. Multiply your growth today.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. Before we get into conversations this morning, I just want to take you to a moment of the good stuff. And this morning we're talking about the coconut vendor on the outside of the Port Mall, and this came in from one of our viewers saying that the coconut vendor located opposite the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago, his customer service is excellent, the coconut water is fresh and it tastes good. The location is ideal and it gives support to the tourism. Let us give support to the tourism product. It speaks to a true Caribbean flavor. So let us join together to promote tourism on the island of Tobago. We're talking about good customer service here. We're talking about a good product here. And of course, we must give kudos to the coconut vendor on the outside. And this came in from Mr. Colwyn Chris Perry. He identified this person. And of course, we must support our very own. When we see something good, let us applaud it and let us do good by ourselves. I mean, we're promoting ourselves here on the island of Tobago. All right, so we're going to begin conversations this morning. We have with us Mr. Barry Lovelace, and he is the Marine Park Manager in the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries. And this morning we're going to be talking about the coral reef crisis in Tobago. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Adana, and good morning, Tobago. Good morning, Atel.
Good morning.
Right, so it is a pleasure having you here, and sometimes there are topics that we sometimes overlook. And this morning we're talking about our coral reef. And we're talking about a crisis. Some people might be trying to figure out why is it important to talk about the crisis that occurred on a coral reef. But more importantly, why is it important that we preserve the coral reef? What is the significance of having a coral reef in our geographical space?
All right. Well, can you imagine Tobago without coral reefs? Without the Bucco Reef? Without the reefs in Speyside, Charlottesville? Can you? Tobago the identity of Tobago will change, right? Okay. And so coral reefs are tremendously important to us. Now, typically, the average person may not have opportunity to dive and to have the close-up look at what's happening under there, but it's a whole different world under there. And so sometimes we tend to have that attitude of out of sight, they saying out of sight, out of mind, right? So I'm here to bring a little bit of awareness from the deep this morning, right? Because what has happened last year, 2024, we'd have had the worst coral bleaching event on record. But worldwide that is, right, happening. And I don't know if people are aware of that, right?
And what is even coral bleaching and what causes it, So, right? It's very intriguing to have this conversation.
Yes. And so that was unprecedented. So that's one thing that's happening, that we are happening currently, and we're trying to monitor. I'll explain a little bit more. But there's a second thing happening, a second threat that we are monitoring very carefully. And it's called stony coral tissue loss disease. Wow. Right? And as the name suggests, stony coral, those hard corals that are responsible for building coral reefs and so on, are under threat from that disease, very lethal. Now, it's in the Caribbean, right? And we've not seen it here yet, but it's something to look out for. So those are the two main things I want to delve into. But you asked in terms of the importance of reefs. Now, I put them in two categories. They are ecological importance and economic importance, right? Under the sphere of ecological, there are many services that coral reefs render to us, right? Food is one, right? Most obvious, right? A source of protein and so on. And then you have, food, coastal protection, right? If you observe, I don't know if you've observed on the west, there's a lot of erosion happening, right? There was one study, a study that was done in 2020 thereabouts, that concluded that part of the reason for that erosion on the south there is because of the degradation of the reefs. The reefs are not serving their purpose as a barrier between, turbulent waters, high energy waters, and the shore as it used to. So that's one factor, right? So that's a situation there. And there are a whole host, you have cultural significance and so on, right? And then in terms of economic, Well, of course, we have activities such as the Reef tour operations, which is a multi-billion-dollar right sector. The dive industry, right? And we do not realize that the reefs are also responsible for many of the nice beaches that we enjoy on the southwestern side. Those nice white sandy beaches. If you check the composition of that sand, right, a high percentages of it would have been created by corals, right? Okay. So it's significant to us in terms of the need to protect our coral reefs. Now, in terms of the bleaching, you wanted that explanation of the bleaching. But before I go there, let me explain. I don't want to take it for granted that the viewer, because I want the children to understand that they understand what are corals. Now, a coral reef is, well, I describe it as a city under the sea, right? It's a place where all different kinds of species and fishes and creatures and so interact one another, who eating who, and and so on. So it's a small space relative to the larger ocean. And now, coral reefs, I lost my train of thought there.
You were saying it's a special space.
Right, yes,
like
a city under the sea. But I was saying that to make a point. But anyway, oh yes, they're animals. That's the point I wanted to get at. Coral reefs are animals, right? And of course, they do everything that animals do: respire, feed, etc. But the thing is, they live in close partnership with another organism, an algae, right? Or some people pronounce it algae, right? This algae lives in their skin. It's what we call a symbiotic relationship. They depend on each other, right? And so this algae is more like a plant. So what it does, that algae is able to capture solar energy, convert it into chemical energy, and the coral animal, or we call it a coral polyp, is now able to use that energy. So you see that relationship, that close relationship. Now, what happens when the coral polyp, the animal, is stressed? And oftentimes temperature is the main reason, the main stressor. When it's stressed for some not too understood reason, right, it expels the algae, the symbiotic algae, from the skin. Right? That algae is called zooxanthellae, for those who are interested in that, right? It expels the zooxanthellae from the skin. And you could well imagine this algae having things like chlorophyll and so on to convert. That is what would have been responsible for the color of the corals. Now you have different photopigments. We know of chlorophyll, which appears to us as green. There are also others like xanthophyll, I think that is red, and yellows and so on. So the different corals have different kinds of pigments, and that is what is responsible for the different colors. When we go underwater, we see all these beautiful colors and so on. That is what is responsible. So imagine the algae is now expelled from the skin. What we end up seeing is the white skeleton, or the calcium carbonate that is under that the corals would have deposited over time. That is now what we are seeing, and it looks white. Now it appears like snow-capped mountains when it's in large areas and so on. So some people will think, oh, that's beautiful. But what you're actually seeing is the coral under severe stress. And what would have happened over the, well, I'd say recent years, right, because as an effect of climate change, and there we have an example of actually how climate change, often we hear climate change, and we cannot perceive how it is really impacting us, right? But this is an impact of climate change, where the sea temperatures from since 2005 or so, 2005 thereabout, would have been every July, August period there. Those peak years, we have elevated temperatures. Now, corals are comfortable in the range of 29 degrees Celsius thereabout. Anytime it goes above that, stress, right? And so last year, 2024, it went up to 33 degrees, and it stayed that way for some weeks. And so we've never seen bleaching of that magnitude, right, in living memory. And so now let me give a little history of it, the bleaching. Now it would have happened in 1998 thereabouts, right? But that was a small kind of patchy thing when we first saw it. Of course, it happened before that, but insignificant, relatively speaking. But where we really started to track it was from 2005. That is a major event that happened in 2005. I remember at that time I was working at the Reef Trust, right? And we would have collaborated with a European organization called Coral Cay Conservation to survey the extent and intensity of what happened in 2005. And even back then it was alarming, right? Well, the first time we experiencing it. All right. Well, so that's the benchmark, so to speak. Happens again in 2010. Well, that one was bad, right? Up to 50% of our corals, well, hard corals, well, we describe it as coral cover, right? The area that corals cover, 50% of the reef building corals were affected, right? That's in 2010. Now, up until 2023, when we had a next event, the corals that were affected in 2010 had not yet recovered. Because you could well imagine, and getting back to the bleaching story, if this algae is responsible for as much as 90% of the polyps, the coral animal, right? As much as 90% of its energy, when it's expelled, the algae, it loses that food, that energy source. So you could well imagine if that situation is sustained for too long, more than 2 weeks, the corals could die as a matter of starvation.
Right.
Right? But happily, if the temperatures go back down in time, right, the algae will, repopulate the skin of rejoin the coral, and then they could revive. Now it's like us. Right? Anytime we get a sickness, we under stress, we come down with a cold or something or whatever, right? It's now much more easy for us to get any other disease that pass. If you understand, because our resistance is now low. Right? If somebody starve you for, however long, and then subject you to some virus or so, it's easy for the virus to catch on. And so the same thing is happening in corals, where after those bleaching events, we see coral disease now starting to come in the space. A lot of coral disease, right? Well, let me leave a little way for as you have some questions. Okay.
No, I'm drawn into the information.
Right.
The conversation is. There are things that I never considered.
Yes.
And I am learning, as it were, right now, that we are part of, a different. What do you call it? A city. We have a whole city under the ocean. A whole new world, as the song says, And I'm like a student right now, and I want you to continue the conversation so that we can be enlightened and to see the importance. Because, as you rightfully said in the beginning, out of sight, out of mind, and so we don't pay attention to things that are not immediately in front of us, but we hear what the impacts can be because these things kind of sustain our lives as well.
Exactly.
So we have to put things in place to ensure that we could sustain the life that is under the ocean.
Well, remind me at the end, in terms of that call to action. We don't want to talk about everything and then not make that call to action at the end, ideally. But yes, indeed, it's a very concerning situation with the bleaching.
And what are some of the impacts that is seen in Tobago as it relates to this latest bleaching incident?
Right. Well, in terms of impacts, now the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries have been collaborating closely with the IMA, right, in terms of monitoring the situation, right, as it pertains to the coral reefs. You asked about impacts. Well, generally, we are seeing as much as 80% impact in terms of corals affected around Tobago. Wow. And of course, some sites, even up to 100%, right? Some sites might be down to 50, 60, right? But when you add it all, 80% generally around Tobago in terms of the impact of that last bleaching. Of course, it's an ongoing thing. Now, as I said, the last significant one we recent time was in 2010, and then we had one in 2023. And then one in 2024. Do you see a closing of the gap? Long ago, is like every generation you would expect a coral bleaching event, and even an event, those events were patchy and small. Then you have 2025. We had one in 2015. That one was long. It wasn't severe, but it lasted for long. And then the 2010, right? 2023, and now 2024, back to back.
Right.
The corals had not even yet recuperated from the 2020 impact.
And
right?
I wanted to ask this question earlier. You said when it happened, they hadn't, I think 2010, and in 2023, you said it hadn't recovered from since then.
Yes.
What are the things, or I don't know if there's a specific recovery period, or there are things that will impact the recovery. So can you just explain that to us? Because if you're saying there was one in 2010, and then when one came in 2023, the one that occurred in 2010, they had not yet recovered, and then there was one in 2024. So that means there's another impact upon impact. So what is the recovery period, or what are the things that can impact the recovery?
Now, that's an interesting question. Now, as I said earlier, this is an effect of increased temperatures, which is an effect of climate change. So on that macro level, right, there are things that we can do, yes, but that calls for a more global response in terms of the temperatures and so on, right? So I don't want to spend too much time because that's mostly out of our control. What we can control is reducing the stress that we are responsible for on the reefs, right? And so even behaviors on land, right? The way we dispose of our waste ending up on the seas. Very important, the way we dispose of our nutrients or solid waste, right? Because what happens, all the nitrates we give off as waste in wastewater and so on, those nitrates, the bacteria, people often think of the bacteria alone. The bacteria may die after a period, but the nitrates, that gets dissolved in our surface waters and our groundwaters, and where they find themselves eventually? In the ocean. In the ocean. Now, when we are pumping out or loading our system or nearshore system with that level of nutrients, what we do is interrupt the ecological balance. Because what we have happening now is that we are helping the growth of algae and so on, which are there naturally, but they now are able to dominate the coral space and so on, the corals, and so you have a shift, right? In fact, that's what we've been seeing, a shift where we once had healthy or robust coral cover, we're now having a shift towards algal cover, right? And that's not something desirous, because the reefs, we depend on the services and so on that the reef provide, the coral reefs. So algae, whereas there is natural, yes, we don't have much, that's not much value to us, right? So yes, so that's the impact that it's having, a shift of that, of the ecosystem, right? And so those are things that we can be conscious of. Now, some of the solutions we can do on an individual level, things like using reef-friendly detergents and products and so on when we interface with the water, when we use, in terms of the types of chemicals we use, to wash and so on, right? All of those things have impact downstream that we don't think about, right? So there, and of course, there's the more direct interface that we have with the reefs, say at Buku Reef, when we go to visit and so on, the way we use that space. Now, Buku Reef, now that's a different segment, so I don't want to go into that too much, but Buku Reef, we see it as our flagship amenity, right? We have the vacation coming up, July, August vacation coming up. A lot of visitors will be here. A place for them to go is on the reef. And so there's a lot of traffic we expect on the reef, and these things too can impact. All of these can impact human presence on the reef, interfacing with the reef and so on. So there are things that we can do. The main thing is to raise our consciousness as to what is happening, what we have, and how it's threatened.
I'm sitting here, Akinlabi, and the information is just so much.
It's a
And
lot of information.
I kind of, I think I'm a responsible citizen, but I start to feel so guilty as if I've been doing something to contribute to this. Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with Mr. Barry Lovelace. He is the Marine Park Manager at the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries in the Tobago House of Assembly. And we're talking about the coral reef bleaching, the crisis here in Tobago. And we want to continue the conversation after the break. But in the meantime, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Are you in a dispute with a registered investment service provider of the TTSEC? Or maybe you're the victim of an investment scam? You can lodge a complaint or submit an anonymous tip to the Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission. Download our Investor Protection app or go to ttsec.org.tt to access our complaint form or submit an anonymous tip. Write a clear summary of your complaint. Submit copies of supporting documents along with the originals for verification. Provide a copy of the feedback received from the entity regarding your complaint. All investor complaints or scam reports submitted by the public are acknowledged and reviewed by the TTSEC. Investigations are pursued based on the outcome of the review. Trinidad and Tobago Securities and Exchange Commission, protecting the interests of investors and the public. You invest, we protect. Everyone benefits.
Saving up to go. Anything we not backing down, like a bomb we ready to explode. Ain't gonna wait until my back against the wall. Ain't gonna.
Hair goals, we've got them. At S&R Hair Fantasy, we provide a wide variety of quality hair, the latest hair accessories, adult toys, skin lightening products, female underwear, and much more under one roof. Check us out on Shelbourne Street in Plymouth or call us at 317-0808. We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. S&R Hair Fantasy for queens who know exactly what they want.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back, viewers, and we are here at the Tobago Updates Morning Show. We're continuing the conversation with Mr. Barry Lovelace, who is the Marine Park Manager at the Department of Marine Resources and Fisheries in the THA, and we're talking about bleaching in the coral reefs. Now, right. Mr. Lovelace, when we just ended, you were speaking about the ecological impact of the bleaching on the coral reefs. And I want to discuss a bit about the economic impact, because the average person, you will hear about the ecological impacts and they'll just tell themselves, well,
environmentalists.
But when they hear about how it's affecting their wallets, that's when people start to pay attention. So could you tell us a bit about the economic impact this can have on Tobago?
All right, so let me see if I could do that quickly. Now, in 2020, those single digit, 2006. Yeah, 2006, right? Again, I was at the Book Reef Trust, and we collaborated with the World Resource Institute to do an economic evaluation of coral reefs in the region. Tobago was one of the study sites, St. Lucia, Antigua, right? Now, in that year, right, they looked at three factors, three coral reef associated economic indicators. in terms of its food, its supply of food, the proteins that we get from fisheries, the tourism value in terms of the reef bathing, reef boats, diving, right? And then it's the service reefs provide in terms of protecting our shoreline from erosion, protecting our valuable infrastructure and so on, right? And the figure that was churned generally was between $120 million US to $160 million US per year in terms of the economic value. And those were the only three variables that we looked at. We didn't include things like the beaches or the pharmaceutical value or the spiritual and cultural value. We didn't quantify those. So that's way in 2006, right? Other studies would have been done, well, less quoted, but right. But so you can imagine that's an at least value in terms of the if you were to put a dollar value to the benefits we derive from coral reefs. And as I started out, just even that wasn't so. Right? The easiest way to try and think of Tobago without Buku Reef or without reefs. And what a dismal picture that would be. Right?
So it's about identity as well.
Yes. Right? But before time run out, I wanted to talk about the disease. Right? We spoke about the bleaching. And as I said, I hinted earlier, since let's say in the early 1990s, thereabouts. After we started seeing bleaching, then we started to see it followed by coral diseases. Right? There are various kinds of diseases that impact. And when I talk about disease, I'm talking about pathological diseases like virus infection, bacterial infection, and so on. And so things like, some of them white band disease. Well, you saw the black band first, black band disease, then the white band, then you have yellow band, and some others. Right? And so, but what has been happening of recent, right, there's this other very lethal and very, widespread, fast-spreading disease called stony coral tissue loss disease, right, that we are seeing in the region. Now, the history of that, it began in 2014 in Florida. It was first sighted in Florida, right? And, well, they have out the picture there. This is an example of Florida. Now, on the far left, that little white patch you're seeing there, that's a disease now beginning to establish itself. Now, check the dates on top. That would have been in 2017, January 5th, right? By January 19th, 20% of the corals is dead. Right? And this is not bleaching now, this is death. The coral is actually dead. You no longer have the live tissue. The coral, the white part is just the skeleton. And by February 1st, 60% dead. Right? I guess by the next month, it will have been 100.
This is alarming.
Alarming. Now, let me put that into perspective. Now, things like white band disease, yellow band disease, and so on. For example, the impacts in 1995, thereabouts, right? It took about 10 years for the white band disease to do 80% damage to the reef. 10 years, right? This particular stony coral tissue disease, it will take 1 year to do that. Right? That's how lethal and rapid it is. So in 2014, it was detected in Florida, and by 2019, it had made its way down the Caribbean island. Right? To date, right, there are about 33 Caribbean islands that are affected and wrestling with this stony coral disease. The thing is, we have not detected it here yet, but we cannot be naive. It's more than likely it is coming. We don't know how much response time we have, but that disease is coming. So you put that now upon top the stress the corals just encountered from that unprecedented bleaching in 2024. You put that on top of it, and you see we have a real challenge mountain, right? Very eye-opening.
So, Mr. Lovelace, right? It's sounding very,
scary.
Yes, it's sounding very scary, apocalyptic. But with the bleaching and with this stony coral disease coming, what can we do as citizenry
right,
to really fight back or to mitigate these diseases?
Right. Well, I did point out some that we can do in terms of the bleaching, in terms of reducing our stress on the stresses on the reef, which is the same for the disease as well. But in terms of this disease in particular, I want to give some information, right? Again, key stakeholders have been collaborating best we can because these things are new. So we now have to build capacity to respond to these things. And that's a plea that I'm putting out there, that we need capacity to be able to monitor and to track and to respond to these things, right? We can no longer be out of sight, out of mind. We have to bring this because they're going to affect us. Now, the IMA developed an app on the phone. You can get it at Google Store. I think it's CITT, SEAITT on the Apple Store. You can download that app, and what that app allows for is especially persons who are interacting with corals, divers, fishermen, reef boat operators, even visitors and so on, right? When you spot, say, a bleaching event or a disease event, you can register it there, right? You can register the location, describe what you see, and you even get a response from one of the scientists, helping you analyze what it is you saw and so on and so on. So I encourage persons to do that, to download that CI app, right? CITT app, and that's one way you can. Now, as I said, the disease is not here. We haven't detected it here as yet, right? And the best thing we can do is early response, detecting it early, right? From what we've learned of the other Caribbean islands and so that are impacted by it, the best way to, to slow down the impact or soften the impact is early detection. Now, how does the disease go from one place to the next? It is transferred by contact, right? And, well, of course, how it comes from one island to the next is either by the currents, the sea currents bring it, or another culprit is the ballast water in ships. That's our main culprit, because oftentimes when they trace back the origin of the disease, oftentimes it's at some port or something like that, which indicates some, ship moving from one place to the next carrying the disease, right? But also on a local basis, if you go at a diseased dive site and you interact there, then you can take the disease from that infected site, and then you go on a clean dive site and you deposit it there. Right. So persons who are divers and so on, we are now, trying to get into their consciousness, that habit of disinfecting between dives, or planning your dive in such a way that if you know, and this is where information comes into play, if we know that the disease is at a particular site and we're trying to contain it there, right? We're not saying don't dive at the site, but dive at it last, right? So you go to all the other sites first, and then you dive at the infected site last, and then, of course, you disinfect your equipment and so on, right? Now, this is a disease that is, there's no way. Okay, well, let me back up a little. There is a way that we can resist the disease with antibiotics, right? Because as you saw in the picture, it begins as a small kind of lesion that spreads, right? So if you see it early enough, there's antibiotic cream that you can put around the lesion, and it contains it. Now, this antibiotic thing is expensive. It's very labor intensive. It's a big ocean there, out there, for us to find all the, that's impossible, right? So we have to be very strategic in our approach, even if it's from that standpoint. Some of the corals that are under threat, right? Or star coral, mountainous star corals, of which more than 80% of Boko, the reefs of Boko are mountainous star corals, what we call Ebola coral. So that is vulnerable. Brain corals are vulnerable, of which we have many here as well. We often boast about the largest brain coral in the Western Hemisphere in space side. That is under threat from this stony coral.
So I know it's a lot that we have to consume.
But we have to come back and break it down.
Exactly, and you know, I just wanted to close in reminding our viewers what they can do. Right. Their responsibility in terms of ensuring that we don't add stress to the coral, so that they have that information.
Right. And again, what we dispose of on land reaches the sea. Of course, there's a role for government to play in terms of implementing wastewater systems and so on, and treating systems and so on. Right? We can lobby for those things, become more conscious and lobby as a people for resources to be placed and channeled properly to deal with those things. But in terms of places like the Reef and places we visit and so on, know what the guidelines are, right? We try to interface with the stakeholders, right? The reef operators, right? We implore their cooperation and compliance with the rules that govern the park, right? And even things like, the sunscreen and so on that we use. They are called reef or reef-friendly products that you can use. Become more conscious of these things. And the best thing you can do is find out more, right? Educate yourself on coral reefs. What are these systems that we are so dependent on, but yet we treat as if they're not there? Educate ourselves on what we have, what is threatening it, what we can do as individuals, as a government, a THA government, right, as a community, right? And I just want to put in a little plug here, right? I heard the Chief Sec awaken that whole issue of the Tobago Marine Park Bill, right? Which I'm looking forward to with great anticipation that, will come to the surface again, right? Because we really need to protect our marine resources. Yeah?
All right, Mr. Lovelace, of course, we thank you so much for coming on this morning and giving us that wealth of information.
Yes, sir.
And having such an engaging conversation this morning. Viewers, we've been speaking with Mr. Barry Lovelace, and we went through the whole process of what is a coral, why it's important to have corals here, what it means to us here on the island of Tobago, and what you can do to ensure that we reduce the stress of the corals on the island of Tobago. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations here in studio. And as we go, we invite you to help us.
Share the live, share the live, share the live.
We'll be right back.
Tobago, this is your chance to lock in the brunch experience of the summer. Sun up.
Real bad girl get nasty.
The brunch inclusive edition, the ultimate party in the East, where vibrant flavors, refreshing cocktails, and electrifying vibes collide. It's happening on Saturday, July 5th from 3 p.m. at Deltec Compound, Argyle. Bring your coolers, bring your crew, and brunch, sip, and vibe in style. This is the flavorful escape you've been waiting for. Grab your tickets now at Barcode, Pablo Supermarket, Lost Restaurant and Lounge, Deltec Compound, and committee members. Sun up. It's more than a brunch. It's an experience.
Quartz is well known as the Caribbean's largest retailer, providing consumers for generations with the very best products to enhance their homes. This year, we bring our expertise to businesses. Quartz Business Solutions will serve small, medium, and large companies with the very best products at the most competitive prices, backed by warranties and after-sales support. Hoteliers, office managers, restaurants, and so many more. Quartz Business Solutions, a brand of the Unicomer Group.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago.
Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49SWIFT 4979438.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Tobago Updates Morning Show, and we have on the line with us Mr. Valmiki Maharaj, who is the band leader and creative director of Lost Tribe, the band. And he's here to talk to us about the Lost Tribe, the band launch. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Maharaj.
Good morning, good morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing quite fine. And you know that for the past few years, the Lost Tribe has been the talk of the town in the Carnival space. And we're very happy that you're coming here on the Tobago Updates morning program to talk about the launch of the band. So tell us, when is the band launch for the Lost Tribe?
At what we call Launchland. It's a space where not Lost Tribe alone, but the four bands that are a part of our group, which is Tribe, Bliss, Hearts, and Lost Tribe, will be presenting their costumes and their presentations for Carnival 2026. It's something we look forward to every single year. We see an evolution not only in the band launch, but in the way that we launch and we welcome people to Trinidad and Tobago Carnival every single year. And we've seen that evolution become a weekend and a space that people could really celebrate not only the Carnival alone, but who we are as Trinidadians and Tobagonians, and celebrate our cultural space.
And so when is the launch and where would it be taking place?
So we launch it on Saturday night, which is Saturday the 5th of July, and it will be held on the north part of the Queen's Park Savannah. Gates open at 7 p.m. and showtime normally is around 9 to 10 around there. By the time the crowd gets in, we have lots of activations, lots of different ways for patrons to experience our themes, the different bands, and of course all our stakeholders will be there as well, our partners in business, and so to be able to interact with people as we get ready to welcome Carnival 2026.
And I know that the Tribe group, they have been doing a lot of good work over the years, and they are very high quality. What could people expect from Lost Tribe for Carnival 2026?
Well, Lost Tribe is a brand that celebrates two things. I think it celebrates the modernity and the future of where we go as a people, how we preserve our culture, and at the same time, coupled with the best road experience that you could possibly have. So in terms of what to expect from us, expect an amazing party on Saturday night for sure, and then expect a storyline with a twist. We are going to drop our theme this week by Tuesday, Wednesday, around this, so maybe by tomorrow. We've already started hinting to it, and we have our campaign layout that will lead you towards Saturday night. In terms of storytelling, Lost Tribe is a space that for me, even being involved in the carnival before there was a Lost Tribe, I felt like if my career and my life always was leading me towards this space that took the best of who we are from the past and looks to the future with the best in mind.
And I know that you have quite a strong following in Tobago itself, and you also do some partnering with Tobago creatives in terms of capturing the magic of Lost Tribe. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Oh my God, personally, Tobago is one of my favorite places. I always say when you're looking for that getaway from life, Tobago is a place that makes you remember to live in the now. And we've been fortunate enough on Lost Tribes Committee to have so many amazing people who are from this space. We work with DXL, Kimmy, all of those amazing people from across there. And over the past year, going into the future, we have been working with Tobago festivals in terms of promoting and giving support to Tobago Carnival. So Anjana and that whole team, thank you for all the support always. And we look forward to working with you to make a better and stronger product.
And I see that the tickets are $400. Where can persons purchase tickets, online or physically?
So on Island e-tickets for sure, and you can come to the Tribe Mass Camp, which is on number 18 Rosalino Street, to be able to access tickets. The tier of tickets changes, so the prices of tickets would be definitely available on Island e-tickets.
Okay. All right, Mr. Maharaj, give us one last plug for the Lost Tribe band launch before you go.
In terms of a plug, I would say really looking forward to seeing everybody on Saturday night. The band launch for us is way more than just launching costumes. That's something that we do online as well, that we do through our networks and so. But the band launch night is really a night for us to celebrate and have that official welcome and kind of opening our own personal launch to Carnival 2026. So, get ready for an amazing night, an amazing party, and looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valmiki Maharaj, for this segment, speaking about the Lost Tribe band launch. And I know that you're going to have a number of persons coming down from Tobago. They'll be filling up the Caribbean Airlines flights, coming down to celebrate with your Tobagonians. I know they love the art and the creativity and the essence of Lost Tribe, and you will get that full support from Tobago. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Yes, and we wish you all the best in the future endeavors. Take care. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the Tobago Updates morning show, but our programming does not end here. We continue on to GMT. So do us a favor, share the live, share the live, share the live. GMT is up next. We'll see you tomorrow.
The strength of our resilience towards disaster preparedness and the strength of our resilience to the impacts of climate change, while it is grounded in our capacity and our capability in terms of our responsiveness, the resources that are available to us, while it is indicative as well as of our technical capabilities and how we are trained to prepare. But I want to tell you this morning that our resilience is also grounded in the fact and also largely dependent on how much we can collaborate with each other.
But when we look at our landscape, on our inner cities and also our rural communities, they are highly vulnerable to hydrometeorological events. And therefore it's important for these stakeholders, our stakeholders, to understand exactly what is happening with the hydrometeorological impact on our exposure. For example, our coastal community, our slopes, slope failures, fallen trees, our utilities, and what is going on with our infrastructure. And we have seen where funding has become a major issue in terms of rehabilitation and recovery. And therefore, I think it is necessary for all of Tobago to understand the importance, therefore, of resiliency. And this session will allow us to have a true picture as to what is exactly happening, not just the negative, but also how we can merge our resources together.
One of the things that we're looking forward to is having pods in every community so that when a disaster hits, they're not looking at Speyside to get a chainsaw. They would have it within their own community. They'll be able to respond to their own community emergency response. So another thing, as Dario was mentioning, was making sure that we know who are the vulnerable within our community, where is the loose roof that's in our community, so that we know even beforehand how we can address these issues.
I am a returning national. I recently came back to the island, back in April, and I wanted all the information that I could get, really, because I'm worried about what I don't know. And so far, it's a lot. So it really is about the information so that I could be prepared for what is to come. I'm so glad that I'm here, and I already picked up a few things that I need to actually learn some more about. So I think they're absolutely vital.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
You're viewing Tobago Updates Television, your exclusive gateway to Tobago, broadcasting the beauty of this island paradise to the world.
We
and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have while I ask those questions that you want asked. But before we get into this morning's interesting topics and conversations, let's have our news in 90 seconds. A robbery at the premises of Ede Supermarket located opposite the Scarborough Port is currently engaging the police's attention. Preliminary reports indicate that the incident occurred at approximately 1 a.m. on Monday, June 30th. The TTPS was alerted and reportedly arrived on the scene soon after. The supermarket, which is operated by Chinese national, was observed closed for business yesterday, and members of the police service was seen actively processing the crime scene. Sources within the TTPS has confirmed that the victims are all non-nationals with limited English-speaking abilities. They are currently assisting police with the investigation. In recent times, the supermarket has garnered public scrutiny as an alleged hotspot for illegal activities. In January of 2024, 4 people were injured in a drive-by shooting at the front of the supermarket. This is a developing story, and more details will be made available in a subsequent newscast. Additionally, the 38th edition of the anticipated Tobago Heritage Festival kicks off today, July 1st, with a Thanksgiving service to be held at the St. Patrick's Anglican Church in Mount Pleasant at 10 a.m. The service, which is dedicated to expressing gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon the island and its people, will commemorate the beginning of a month-long calendar of events under the theme Time Longer Than Twine. The festival boasts of over 25 events, with the return of fan favorites such as the Salaka Feast, Lescotho Folk Tales, and new runners for headliners, the Roxbury's Belmana Riot. The calendar of events culminates on Emancipation Day with a parade and reenactment. And finally, 17,870 boys and girls across the nation will access their secondary entrance assessment results on Thursday, the 3rd of July 2025, as announced by the Minister of Education. In an official press release yesterday, the ministry confirmed that students will be able to access their individual results from the SEA online portal from 11 p.m. Children desirous of accessing their results will need their date of birth, student number, admission number, and any access to internet in order to access that result. And that was our news in 90 seconds. This morning, we are continuing our conversations by continuing this topic of what's happening for the Tobago Heritage Festival, as you heard in On News in 90 seconds. Now, there are a number of activities that would be taking place, and one of those activities has to do with keeping literary traditions alive. This morning, I have the privilege of chatting online with Mr. Horace Wilson, who is a movie producer and script writer. Good morning, Mr. Wilson. Now, he is no stranger to us here on the island of Tobago. He's one of those prominent writers who wrote 39 episodes of the series No Boundaries, 13 episodes of the popular Turning the Tide, and he also produced that movie, the Turn of the Tide movie as well, along with a number of other shows such as TTT's Play of the Month series. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you are one of those persons who would have contributed to Trinidad and Tobago's culture through film. And, you have used film as a means of, creative expression that has engaged both the old, young, you name it, everyone, being a part of Trinidad and Tobago's culture has been touched by the work that you have done. It is not only cultural, but historical. And it marks, a time period for a lot of persons. For me, it marked that time right after the news where our parents would send us to bed, because that was the time when they would sit and, look at their local series. And I remember sometimes catching a glimpse of it and just knowing that it probably was, above my head. It was probably too much for me at that little age, but very interesting nevertheless. It was one of those things that would have brought families together. And so even as you are keeping that tradition alive of creating quality local content that brings families together and, really engages members of the diaspora, tell us about some of the things that you have been doing in recent time, in addition to your collaboration with the Tobago Heritage Festival.
Well, I left Tobago. Well, as you mentioned, I wrote Turn of the Tide, which was 13 episodes set in Tobago. For some of the younger people might not know it. Eastlyn Mackenzie, Rodell Clark, Mike Duncan, Roll Carrington, a whole lot of Tobagonians got featured in the production. And I also did No Boundaries, which ran for 39 weeks, 3 years, 3 seasons, which aired throughout the whole Caribbean. After that, I wrote, I produced, and directed a miniseries, a 6-episode miniseries called Tangled Lives, which dealt with a family coming to grips with AIDS. And that was commissioned by the European Union, and it aired in 30, 40 something countries. It was quite successful, I think. Well, then I was accepted at the American Film Institute to do, it was a 2-year program in screenwriting. That is probably the most prestigious institution for advanced film and television studies. There were people like Steven Spielberg and Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee, and these guys would come in and show their work and discuss them with us. They only chose 28 people to do that class, so I considered myself very lucky. And I learned a lot of stuff from it. Previous to that, I used to just write. I thought it was, you didn't need any training for writing. You just wrote a story, you got characters, you got incidents and whatever, and you wrote them. But I realized, going to that school, the teachers, they were, you had to spend a lot of time on structure, the proper formatting, how to develop character and suspense, and all those things that required a lot of training, which I was not aware of. It was a real eye-opener for me. Since then, I have done I've written scripts. One of them was actually produced. It was called The Sure Hand of God, and it was sold to the Lifetime channel and all over the world, countries, scores of countries all over the place. I wrote 2 other scripts which I entered in a couple of screenwriting competitions. One of them came third in one of the contests run by Page Awards. It's a very well known screenwriting competition. They were like over 10,000 entries, and this came third, and it was accepted. It was optioned by a producer who's trying to get it done. Another one was in the top 10 in Scriptapalooza's contest, which was, I think, over 10,000 people entries as well. And that has also been optioned. And from my knowledge, they are in the process of casting it and getting it done up here. I think it's going to be in Louisiana. But yeah, that's what I've been doing here. And then I was invited by the Writers Guild to address some students on Friday. And I think it's quite a privilege because, when I was growing up, there was nobody I could turn to, nobody to give me any kind of advice as to what I was doing, even how to write a script, because I thought, you write it like you write a play. And I think that there are, some benefits to the kids, that they'll have somebody who's been there, done that, and who could pass on some knowledge.
Right. And even now where we have, the input of AI and artificial intelligence as a means of assisting with script writing and playwriting, how important is it for young persons to get that indigenous lesson, that in-person real interaction on how scripts are written from, its base to its finish? How important is that to get that practical training?
Well, I am not familiar with the AI aspect of it. I've never used it. I have no idea what is involved in the AI thing. I'm aware of chat something, whatever you call it. I've seen people use it, but I personally have no knowledge of it. What I do, I pretty much write all my scripts. Every word I put down. I don't go to any artificial source for inspiration or for help in any way. I just do it. So, like I said, I know nothing about the AI. Call it a revolution that's taking place now. I can't speak on that.
Let's talk a bit about that session that is happening on Friday with, the young persons, students at the library, the Scarborough Library. Would you be virtual? How would this be done? It's starting at 12 and it goes up until 2:30 p.m. And tell us what we can expect from you in that session.
Yeah, it's going to be virtual. The Writers Guild, I think, who were the ones promoting it, they considered, flying me down for it and that kind of thing. But it to me, we could do it virtually, and it would save, 2 days of flying and going and come back, and for a couple of hours. It didn't make any sense. So it's going to be virtual. And I will deal with some of the, the basics of screenwriting for anybody who is, any of the students who is interested in it. The things like the formatting and structure, characters, and and those. It's trying to cram like a 2-year course into 2 hours, which is. It's just going to be scratching the surface, because there's a whole lot of stuff that, that is still to be learned, but at least it would hopefully help them to consider getting into it as a career, as a hobby, or, whatever. The thing is that, it really is difficult and expensive to get any kind of audiovisual work done, and in Trinidad especially, because you don't get the kind of support that you need from corporations. You get some, but I think it would be a lot better. I remember back, when I was young, growing up, there was the TTT used to have a Play of the Month competition where the writers would submit plays and they judge them, and TTT would produce them. They were very small, inexpensive productions. They were like 4 people in the drama unit there, and but at least the writers. I actually won that contest, I think, twice. and then my work was produced, and for the first time I saw it, performed to the audience, the entire audience in Trinidad and even abroad. And I think something like that could be, helpful
Right.
to the young people,
Right.
But
And
of course, we need to get support from the sponsors, corporations, government to develop because it's a whole new industry. The film business is a multi-billion industry, and it could be of tremendous benefit to the country, exposing our artists, our technicians, to the world. These days, with the internet and streaming platforms, there are multiple outlets for your work. So, this whatever we do in Trinidad is not confined to a Trinidad audience or a Caribbean audience. It is something that but they have to be done, to an acceptable standard internationally. And of course it starts with the writing. You have to, the word, the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, or something like that. To make a film, the word, the script, is where it all starts. That's the beginning. If you don't have a good script, you're not going to have a good production, and that is the challenge to the young writers, to come up with interesting stories that could be of interest. Like I said, not only to the local community, but that could be of interest to a wider community.
excellent. And we have in studio with us Mr. Leroy George, who is the PRO of the Writers Guild. Mr. George, how important is it for parents to ensure that they send their kids out to this event to be a part of it? Maybe drama teachers from the different schools engaging their students. How are you going to ensure that the students really come and patronize this event? Because we do have a legend teaching this course on Friday, and we want to make sure that persons come out and really be a part of that and support the initiative. Talk to us about that.
It cannot be understated how important it is. As Mr. Horace Wilson would have just pointed out, this is a $1 billion industry, and is one that Tobago could tap into. We have invested so much into it. We have TPAC. We have persons in TPAC doing amazing work. And I should point out that on the last day of this series of courses, we are going to have the CEO of TPAC actually doing another course on script writing, etc. We have the Tobago Drama Guild. And just a couple of days ago, Eric Roach, another very famous script writer, whose work, if anybody's into plays, etc., that name Eric Roach would be very common to them, because he would have wrote Bella Panso, he would have wrote the play called Blood Money, etc. He reached out to Tobago Writers Guild. His son, Eric Roach's son, reached out to Tobago Writers Guild because he's into script writing. He's in Rwanda right now, and he's going to be working with the Tobago Writers Guild to bring some of his work to life, etc. And so it is super important because, as I always say, Tobagonians are very artistic persons living in a public sector world, trapped in a public sector world, and a lot of these young people, they don't know for sure what they want to do out there, what is available out there that could be done career-wise, etc. And so you would want to expose them to everything. So even if right now they're not in that mindset of drama, etc., knowing that how they feel about their career or their future career today is not necessarily how they're going to feel about it in the future, give them every opportunity as possible. The first script writing situation is free, right? And so make sure they come out, make sure they have the ability to express themselves artistically as possible. Of course, you have other courses.
Right, but is there any partnership with the Division of Education to ensure that students do come out and patronize the event?
The very good question. The president of the Tobago Writers Guild has been working with all the different high schools and primary schools in Tobago for quite some time. I have Read Aloud Day. We've been sending out, the Tobago Writers Guild have been sending out persons to go and read with the kids, etc. So we have started that discourse, and even with the high schools should have gone to Scarborough Sec, also Bishops, etc., to talk about entrepreneurship. So you're looking to diversify the economy or to help to promote, facilitate the conversation where diversifying our economy is concerned. And as a result of that, we already have that connection there. So I would expect that we'd have a very healthy show of persons for this particular first July the 4th situation. However, when it comes to the other things, like the folklore and fiction writing, when it comes to all the different type of writings, they have one. I would definitely recommend persons come out. If you know you are a writer, you do not want to miss it. The one that is going to be facilitated by Joel Green George herself, which is entrepreneurship in literature. So basically you're learning how to turn your book, how to promote your book. When you write a book, how to turn it into a proper book online, hard copy, etc., and get it out there, etc. So that's another thing that you could attend. So if you want to see all these things, you could always go on the Tobago Writers Guild Facebook page, or you could call the Tobago Writers Guild number, that's 620-5799, and you can find out exactly what we're doing, when we're doing it, and be a part of this revolution, because it is a whole revolution taking place right now.
Excellent. And Mr. Wilson, how important is it for young persons to see this as a lucrative avenue for their own professional elevation? You are currently in the United States, and as indicated previously, one of your scripts were picked up by the Lifetime movie network, and you have entered a number of global competitions and have made it to the top of those competitions. How important is for young persons to really see this as an avenue to drive their own personal progress?
Yeah, it is challenging because you are competing, with the very best. Everybody's trying to, to get their script sold. And so you have to be on the top of your game. You cannot submit something that is substandard or that doesn't look professional or is not done professionally. And that is why I think it's important that the students know what they're up against and try to better themselves. What I see this thing on Friday is probably the start of young people learning more about the craft and developing their craft. It is the first step. There are all kinds of online classes, there are college degree classes, there are all kinds of workshops you can attend online on script writing. There are lots of competitions, and because right now a lot of the big studios are looking for original content because they're kind of running out. All you're seeing in the blockbusters now are sequels. There's a sequel to Batman and all the Marvel stuff and whatnot. But a lot of them are looking for something that is different. And you go to Netflix, you go to Prime, you go to all of them, you see movies from Africa and Persia and all over the world are available there. So, like I said, there are opportunities to do, to get your work done and to get your work seen and appreciated and to make a living, from this. But you have to be good. You have to know what you're about. You have to learn your craft. You have to develop your craft. And like I said, the Caribbean is a small market. It's a very small market compared to the rest of the world. And your aim should be an international audience. Get your name out there. Partner with, producers who have done, because one film, in some cases, gross $1 billion US dollars, in some cases. There are lots of movies. You look at the box office returns. and a lot of them $200-300 million US dollars, in one film. And so there's a market for your work, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to develop it. You have to be among the best. To I am not saying that I am among the best, but I'm trying. It's a competitive thing. You're up against some of the some of the very best.
Right,
So you have
and thank you, Mr. George. Even as we wrap up our discussions this morning, can you remind the public of all the different events that would be taking place as a part of keeping literary traditions alive with these workshops?
No problem. No, Mr. Horace Wilson would have said he's not one of the best, but we only have the best lineup here, right? Every single person that I'm going to mention and what they're going to be doing, that person is the best in the craft. So we start with Mr. Horace Wilson on July the 4th. That's 12 noon to 2:30 p.m., right? And then the following day, we're going to have 2 sessions, right? One is by the best, again, the absolute best spoken word artist, that is Cleon McPherson. So 9 a.m. to 12 noon, right, July 5th, you're going to have Cleon McPherson doing poetry and spoken word. And then 1 o'clock to 4 p.m., you have the best again. The very best when it comes to book marketing for entrepreneurs, you have Joel Green. Then after that, you have a few days off. July the 12th, you have the best again. When it comes to folklore writing, Marsha Gomes-McKee, this is why she could do it full-time. She does it full-time, makes a very healthy living doing it, etc. And she would be doing July the 12th, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And lastly, the very best. When I say very best, not my opinion, very best, the opinion of the experts when it comes to sci-fi writing, the Academy Award winner when it comes, well, the equivalent of Academy Award winner, when it comes to folk sci-fi writing, we have Miss Rhonda Garcia. That would be July 17th. But July 15th, we would have the very best again, the CEO of TPAC, Mr. Jared Primer. And then, well, of course, you must have Mr. Horace Wilson starting the party, teaching the youths how to do script writing. Come back again for Jared Primer, because he'll be doing script writing on another level altogether. And all of them would be $100 to attend, right? A very small investment to secure you, because it's the very best you're dealing with, to secure your future in the arts, etc. And as I would have said, 620-5799, right, would be the number to call, or you could check the Tobago Writers Guild, or you could WhatsApp 750-8369, and you'll be able to speak to me directly.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you guys so much for, coming here this morning and letting us know everything that's happening as it pertains to keeping literary traditions alive. Mr. Horace, is there anything you want to say before, we close off the discussion this morning?
Yeah, well, my understanding is that the session on Friday is free to the students. So, but I am a little disappointed in the sense that the venue can only accommodate a limited amount of students, maybe. So not all the students from the various high schools who are willing or who would like to come would be able to attend. That is my understanding, which I think is, is quite, I hope that could change. They could probably get a bigger venue or whatever, because it's something that I think that a lot of kids, could have their eyes open to the possibilities of getting into screenwriting, acting, the whole different, realm of employment, where they could use, their creativity and the, whatever talents that they develop to make a living and whatever. So that's it. I'm looking forward to being there and talking to the kids, and maybe, who knows, maybe there might be a Steven Spielberg or a Spike Lee or Tyler Perry or somebody in the audience, who just needs some encouragement. So thank you very much for having me, and thank the Writers Guild for inviting me. I think, it's a privilege to be a part of probably some of these kids starting on a new and different journey. Thank you very much.
No problem. And is there anything that the Writers Guild wants to put out there before we end this conversation this morning?
In terms of immediate benefits of attending these workshops, one of the things is once you attend these workshops, you are going to get a certificate of participation, so you could show that you've been going down that particular line. And just as importantly, Tobago Writers Guild, we have like over 60 different writers, and we do have one book, right, Tobago in print, whereby 20-something of these writers would have come together and everybody put a one page in an Antorium book called Tobago in Print. It's the best-selling book for the Tobago Writers Guild. We're going to be doing that again. And if you attend this particular workshop and you were able to produce some short work in any form, whether it be fictional, non-fictional, etc., and it is of a high enough quality, you're going to become a published writer in our next Antorium, which we're going to be doing very soon.
Excellent. Seems like a great opportunity for the young persons to engage. And guys, again, this is happening on Friday, the 4th of July at 12 noon, and it goes up until 2:30, and this will be taking place at the Scarborough Library venue. If you know anyone who might be interested, if you have kids that may be interested, or maybe a neighbor, anyone who you think would benefit from these sessions, you should reach out to them and let them know to be a part of that. But guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we're going to be back right after this, so see you soon.
Energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never.
Tobago, this is your chance to lock in the brunch experience of the summer. Sun up,
Real bad girl, get nasty.
The brunch inclusive edition, the ultimate party in the East, where vibrant flavors, refreshing cocktails, and electrifying vibes collide. It's happening on Saturday, July 5th from 3 p.m. at Deltec Compound, Argyle. Bring your coolers, bring your crew, and brunch, sip, and vibe in style. This is the flavorful escape you've been waiting for. Grab your tickets now at Barcode, Harblow Supermarket, Lost Restaurant and Lounge, Deltec Compound, and committee members. Sun up! It's more than a brunch, it's an experience.
With Flow Business's new smart solutions, powered by super fast, reliable broadband, you'll feel like there are more versions of you working for you. From website design, development, and digital marketing to promote your business, 24/7 business class support to cloud solutions, security, and more. Multiply your growth today.
happening this Friday, June the 27th at Shore Park Food Hub. TPP Women's Council present their fundraiser cookout. When I tell you, we have meat, we have chicken, $50, fish, $60. When I tell you pork, Lord pork, $60. When I tell you, we have sides like vegetable rice, cornmeal dumpling, cassava dumpling. We have kalaloo. We have lentil peas, pigeon peas. When I tell you, watch me, leave home your back. Walk with your belly in your hand. When I tell you, and you see them ladies and them, when you hear they cooking that pork, it don't melt in your mouth like marshmallow when you're eating it. When I tell you that pork, the sweet boy. But talk we and buy we out. You know we love that. Just come to Shore Park. We have it. We have quality of food. No black meat. Only gold. Only gold. Remember TikTok boss tell all of that.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. This morning we are chatting all about the We Must Dance TT that took place recently by the AMPLIA. Good morning, and welcome Von Cupid, who is the president of AMPLIA. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
Excellent. Now, you guys put on this event. Tell us a bit about it. How successful was it in engaging a number of young persons?
This was actually the second time we would have done this tour. The first year, which was last year, we did it in February, and we engaged 3 schools across the island. This year, we're proud to say that we engaged 10 schools, including schools from Trinidad and schools on the primary school level, and it was extremely amazing. It was extremely successful to the point that some schools are asking it to be an every semester kind of thing. So I'm happy to say that.
Right. And tell us, what was the significance of the event? Like, what was the idea behind it? And, what are you trying to achieve by putting on this?
So this initiative would have came from many directions. One of the main directions were the fact that we have a presence on the island, which is AMPLIA. We have been dancing for years. Everybody would have known the brotherhood. Myself, Nicklon, Chapley, Destin, Orel. And we would have partnered last year and also this year with the Division of Tourism and with Forgangers, and we realized that there are many avenues where young people have not really had the opportunity to dive into. And one of the avenues that them happen to be dance. And if you look at TikTok, if you look at social media, dance is very strong amongst our youth, and we also have, on the same hat, a problem with violence within the schools with our youths. So we thought about it to be like, you know what, could we use our platform and use something that they like and use it in a way to teach them the lessons that we want them to learn. And the whole team for this year, the whole team for the tour is actually more dancing, less violence. So we would have used our platform, used our influence, use our resources to get that message across the best way that we know how, by showing them healthy ways to express themselves via dance, via chanting, via singing, via healthy expression. So that's basically it.
Excellent. And when can we see this happening again?
Well, as much as some of the schools on them like Lambo and Lincoln was currently requesting for it to happen again in September semester, we are currently looking at making it an annual thing. So we are carding it for next year, April, that month of April being a sweet month. But a huge part of this also boils down on the support that is needed to execute, because even going to Trinidad as a Tobago initiative took manpower, took time, and this is something that we as AMPLIA, being a 5-man or 6-man team, we cannot do alone. So the dependency on it happening, we are reaching out all stakeholders, even to the secretaries, even to the chief. Let us invest in our kids. Let us use mediums that they know that we could control the narrative to create an impact. Because every school we went to, every school we visited, they wanted to do a TikTok. Every school from primary to trainee to secondary, all of them wanted to show that positive side. And I think it's so amazing to kind of counterbalance all of the fighting and all the negativity that you've been seeing happening in schools. So let's invest in it. And with that being said, I am putting this pen to paper. I am pledging to have this happen next year in the month of April again. Bigger, better, stronger.
Right, and how is it for you? As you said, you need resources to do it. So, partnering with entities that fund initiatives like this one, for example, the Digital Foundation and Scotiabank and a number of these other corporate entities that support initiatives of this nature. Is this something that you're looking into?
Of course,
getting sponsorship from?
Of course, we are not so myopic as to we believe that we could do this on our own. We would have been in front of hundreds of, probably about 3,000 kids throughout this whole tour. And one thing we realized is that we cannot do it alone. So we are glad to say that the Division of Tourism and the administrator there would have lent support and resources. We're glad to say that Mr. Jared Primer and TPAC would have lent support. We're glad to say Tobago Carnival for Gangers would have lent resources and support. But we need more. So all these entities, Digital Foundation, divisions, even the Division of Education, even Chief, we will be reaching out to you, whether you are government, whether you are private. Once you are willing to lend aid to help impact this next generation using a medium that they like, that they could resonate with, other than going up in front of them and talking right through, because we know young people do not have the longest attention span. So sometimes it's just changing the approach, and we will be reaching out, but also reach out to us if you're willing. If you're hearing this, if you're willing. You could contact us on all social media profiles, Emperors. Please reach out. Let's make this a movement.
Excellent. And, even as we wrap up the discussion this morning, are there any other projects in the making that you guys are working on outside of the school tour? And how can people support what you are doing?
People could support what we are doing by just following the page, by sending ideas, by being more proactive, because we cannot think of everything, we cannot do everything, but we are willing to try. Our next major initiative that we are currently looking at, we are hoping to throw a school competition, because we realize in Roxburgh Sec, in Goodwood, in all these schools we would have visited, they have a plethora of dancers, especially young males. And if this is an avenue that they like, it is an avenue that they choose to express themselves, we need to give them something to strive towards. So we're hoping probably by next semester to sort of put on a competition, get some attractive prizes. I don't mean a little 500, just want to get them. No, let's make it an annual thing. Let's make it a huge thing. And probably next year also probably put on a festival somewhere that all these students could come on a big stage, kind of like a heritage opening coming up, and let them show us what they could do.
Royal Tobago Dance Festival.
Correct.
Okay, well, we look forward to, you guys putting on these type of initiatives and getting this type of financial and logistical support that is needed to get it done. What type of resources do you think should be, channeled into the industry to ensure success? Because there is, organizations like TPAC, and you have those independent dance groups and dance organizations. A lot of them are focused on folk dancing, though, and other traditional means of dancing. Pros, on the other hand, focus on more modern type of dance, hip-hop dancing. Tell us a bit about what differentiates Pros from the other dance groups that exist within the space, and why it's important to get other young persons on board and involved within the dance group, to help expand the work that you have already started.
That is a beautiful question, I must say, and it is something that I am glad at this stage I believe I'm in a position to answer accurately. So when we went to Trinidad, we visited Diego Martin Central as one of the schools on the monitor, and we would have shown them some of our folk dances, the brush back and all of that. But we started with our type of dances first, the hip hop and the trendy. When we got into the folk dancing, they had so much fun. They didn't even realize that it was Tobago folk dancing that they was going crazy over. And I say all of this just to mean that we need to find a way. If there's a disconnect with the young people with our tradition and our folk, you don't necessarily have to present it in the same way as you did it before. Find a way to get them interested in it and then drill the principles into it, because students in Trinidad dancing the brush back, doing the heel and toe, doing the jig, that made me feel so proud as a Tobagonian to know that we would have been ambassadors for the island and would have spread this knowledge. So next year, and you mentioned anything about resources. Resources doesn't have to be capital. It doesn't just have to be capital. It doesn't have to be funds. It could be manpower. It could be, we have a lot of walking libraries walking around, especially in the cultural fraternity, that persons have a plethora of information and a library of knowledge that we as young people need to know going forward. So that is resources that you could lend. It could even be services. It could be tokens. So anything that you believe that could help the next generation or that could supplement what we are doing to leave an impact. Because going to Trinidad with logistics and tokens and put everything together, it was quite costly. And we didn't think of it as we're doing this for the money or anything. We think of it as we want to impact young people's lives. So if that is your same sentiment, if that is where your passion is at, please reach out to us. We are willing to work with everybody. TPAC is amazing. TPAC is Tobago's best. We're willing to work with divisions. We're willing to work with private organizations. But we need you guys to also meet us on the half. I will send out the proposals. I will make the meetings. I'll make everything happen for the benefit of the kids. The kids were amazing. And funny enough, the primary school students showing up, some of the secondary school students, you know, some of the primary school students doing all the dance. They could shake it to the max. They could do everything. And it filled me with such joy to see the passion that these young people have. And I think we need to take them at this tender age and guide them towards a non-violent and non-bullying path with the medium that they know. So if anybody has any ideas, any support, please reach out to us. Please reach out to me, Empros on Facebook, on TikTok, on social media. My number is 3912916. I'm very WhatsApp friendly. Let us do our parts to make Tobago, to make Trinidad and Tobago a better country.
Excellent. We want to thank you so much for that and the initiatives that MPROS has been doing to reach out to the youths in Trinidad and in Tobago as well. And guys, we want to thank you so much for sticking with us this morning. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Chanel Felix, and have a great day.
To wake up and hear me neighbor, 60,000 people strong.